are the union.
We are the union.
A mighty, mighty union.
The mighty, mighty union.
Everywhere we go.
We see you. We know how the MPS said that people will be going back to school on Monday. We know we're waiting for the call from MFT. We're waiting for your guys' approval.
$4+ an hour to bring our members who are starting at $24,000 a year very close to our goal of $35,000 a year starting. We've got agreements around increased hours and increased days. We have secured seniority and placement rights for associate educators. Nearly half of our unit, we're talking about hundreds of educators of color who now have the same job protections and seniority rights and placement rights as their colleagues within our unit and within the licensed teacher unit. So there's a lot for our folks to get through. We'll get details out to our members shortly, and we're still working out some details on how we'll proceed, and we've got folks negotiating return to work agreements right now with the district, so we've still got to wait for details on what that looks like. But I think what we really want to put out first and foremost is that the collective action of our members has shown that strikes work. We know that we needed fundamental change in the Minneapolis public schools, and that was a big part of what this is about. We said we needed living wages for our hourly workers. Our colleagues, the food service workers in SEIU 284, also saw historic increases as a result of their action and their collective action and willingness to go on strike, and the district saw that and responded in kind with significant increases to that group who are amongst our lowest paid and most diverse workforce. We made significant progress on a lot of our safe and stable schools priorities, and Greta's going to get into that with our teacher chapter. But I think what we really have shown is that because what we've said all along is that we don't have a budget crisis, we have a values and priorities crisis. I think what our members have proven is that is the case. We have said all along this is not only about the amount of money that our district has, but how we choose to use it. And what we know is that we are going to make better decisions for our students and our families when we bring more people into the decision-making process. The district started out this negotiation saying no, 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 it will be status quo, we will do business as usual. And the educators of the city, our families and community decided to say, actually, no, we're going to do things differently, and the end result is that we've proven that we actually are going to be doing things differently, and we'll continue to see more change in the Minneapolis public schools in the years to come.
So we're happy to be here. We know that we have historic wins and that our students have more mental health supports, that we have huge wins for our education support professionals. We know that we would not have been here without doing what we had to do, and that's also a reality that is unfortunate, that we had to do this in order to get some critical supports for our students. And so we are so happy, so grateful to be here with community, with our families, with each other, and to get kids back in school. And this is a historic day. This is a historic fight. We can't wait to move forward and continue to get more for our students. And that is what we are positive right now, is that we will continue to fight for safe and stable schools.
Jasmine here, Radio 612 Maisha. I had a question about the fact that the African American population, 77% of those students can't read at grade level. Are the teachers going to be retaught, or how does that work in terms of educating our black children?
So I think the gains that we made in this contract go away to addressing what you're talking about. So one of the things that we've said is fundamental to addressing the challenges we face in the Minneapolis public schools, particularly when it comes to what your question was about, is that we need a more stable workforce. We need educators of color in our schools. We know that that's an important thing.
When you say educators of color, what does that mean? What color?
Well, we need black, brown, indigenous educators.
What is the percentage on that today?
So our historic gains in this contract around addressing things like seniority-based layoff protection for teachers of color. It's going to be a nation-leading model that exempts teachers of color from seniority-based layoff and accessing and allows the next least senior person who's not covered by those protections to be the individual who is laid off or accessed. That's an important win. It does two things. It means that we have better protections for educators of color, teachers of color in particular, and it also means that moving forward, we've got a system that we can model across the country, here in the state of Minnesota and in other school districts, about how we can address this issue. It's a top priority for our union to provide protections for educators of color. My unit as well, as I mentioned, we saw historic gains, making sure that we have seniority rights and placement rights for associate educators who make up nearly half of our group. Our ESPs are nearly half, are a majority folks of color, and that means hundreds of educators of color are going to have better job protections, and our schools are going to be more stable because we're retaining folks with years of service working with our students, folks who know how to get our kids back into school, reestablishing rituals and routines and making sure that our systems are back up and running. And those experienced educators are folks that we need in our schools, and we made big gains for that.
What wage did you get for education support professionals?
Yeah, so we went from a 1983 starting wage for a vast majority of our members, and we got that up to $23.91. I want to be clear that under our proposal that we settled on for our ESPs in that category are going to see a higher wage on step one than they would have under the district's proposal with 2 years of step increases. We said the devil's in the details. What we needed to do is get in and dig through those numbers and make them work. $23.91 starting was a cornerstone of how we get to $35,000 a year. We secured additional days and additional hours for our folks. Unfortunately, those are in temporary agreements being paid for by ESSER funds. So we're going to continue. We're going to continue this struggle to make sure that we can get our folks up there permanently. We got a lot of our people will be at that rate, but not as many as we wanted, and that's part of this process, right? It's a give and take, but we know coming out of this strike that our union is stronger and we have more power to continue to make sure that we're forcing the district to do things that it doesn't want to do when it comes to taking care of our hourly workers and other important priorities.
You're basically absolutely right. The devils are in the details. And if there are only 237 black teachers in this whole district that is failing black students at nation-leading levels, when you talk about the pipeline in terms of seniority, those same black teachers are at the bottom of the pipeline. So it'll basically maybe take them at least 10 years to catch up. So if the devils are in the details, what specific protections do you have right now that won't take 10 years for those same teachers, not people of color, but the black teachers of the failing black students, which is the banner flag of this failing public school district? Are there some legal things that you have on paper? Something. Because the devil is absolutely in the details, and with this devil, it's going to take at least 10 to 20 years for black teachers to catch up.
So what I would say is that the agreements that were reached include layoff and excess protections for black teachers as well as teachers of color. So that means that the black teachers and teachers of color who are working in the Minneapolis public schools right now have new protection from layoff and accessing. And what that means is that if there are reductions in force, that excludes those teachers specifically moving forward right now from layoff and accessing. And that is an important win, and it's an important value that we brought to the table and we're able to figure out. There are other things that we've done, including the associate educator seniority and placement. That means if someone is reduced, if their position is eliminated at a building, they have a place to go somewhere else, so that our veteran educators are kept in the Minneapolis public schools. They may not be at their same site, but they're somewhere within our school communities.
Respectfully, I'm just quick follow-up. Respectfully, that was directed to the teachers, not the educators. I'm talking about classroom teachers. We're looking at tenureship in teachers, teacher percentage and population of the Minneapolis public schools. Again, that was not a specific answer to my question. You said it was based on seniority. So it would be good to hear the teachers rep to answer that question. If the black teachers are at the bottom of seniority right now through very systemic racism that exists in this district and in the teachers union, what measures are you going to have for those black teachers at the bottom of seniority? Is it going to take them? Why are you answering the question? This is directed to the
We're
teachers
one
rep.
team.
Oh,
So I can certainly answer your question. So the answer that I had is specific to the question that you're asking. Black teachers who are our least senior teachers moving forward have protections that protect them from layoff and accessing. So if there are reductions in force at a building or in the district, those folks, those black teachers, teachers of color, will have specific exemptions moving forward starting now because of the contract that we've set up. So it doesn't mean that it only kicks in 10 years down the line. It means that all teachers right now, all black teachers qualify under that today. So it doesn't take years. That's starting today. That's what's going on right now because of the agreement we've reached.
I have one
What
more
did you get
question.
on mental health supports?
I'm sorry, what?
What did you get on mental health supports?
We have mental health support teams that we have gained in elementary schools. We have doubled our nurses, our counselors in elementary schools. We have a social worker in every building. And that's also a fight that we're going to have to continue to have because we know that our students need and deserve so much more.
I want to ask.
Let me get
we're-
from the NAACP. I'm wondering what are we going to do with the teachers for accountability and making sure that now that this contract has been before us and we've made strides to come to some agreement, how are we going to be holding the teachers accountable for doing their job? And what I mean by doing their job is making sure that the numbers are where they need to be for our students, especially our students, the black children. So that's what I'm here to ask. Because we did all of this picketing, which I think we could have did in the summer and had our babies right back in school. And don't get me wrong, I think the strike is important, but I think the timing was off because we've already been out of school. So where is the accountability going to come from when we're asking for this money? Now you get the money. How do we know that these teachers are in here doing their job? Because here's the deal. If I'm asking for more money and I just get a pass to get money, but the students are failing, that's not a win-win for us. So when we talk about the black community, it's not 3 people, it's not 2 people, it's people. Some parents are working 5 jobs, so they can't get out here and ask these questions. And it's unfortunate that we have a lot of black teachers who are afraid
To speak up.
because they have spoken up before and they've been castigated.
or bought off.
Absolutely. So my question is, where's the accountability going to be?
So our accountability is in our contract, and we're here to hold MPS accountable. We're here to hold ourselves accountable, and that goes right into writing, which is a legal agreement. And that is exactly why we're here today, to say that we've reached a tentative agreement, and we have to go right back in here now and work on our return to work so that we can get this on the line and have students back in school as soon as possible.
What is the
so
plan?
Thank you so much for having us today. We do have to get back to our return to work agreement. We appreciate everyone for being here, and we'll follow up later today as we have that return to work agreement in place.
There's
should be
no way
open
we
for
should see
community.
a George Floyd trial and not be able to observe or even hear a teacher agree